Elizabeth Moss wants to keep her career going, so just come on, do the lobster motion. Kate Hudson offers her a chance to do this, says just come on, do the lobster motion. We've got a tone that cannot be picked, and this movie just turns into shit, and just come on, do the lobster motion with me. Shell is a Paramount Plus original from director Max Minghella, who did Teen Spirit in 2018. I assume that movie is inspired somewhat by the Nirvana song, but I really have no idea. He's also had various roles in some movies over the years, and you know what? Going from in front of the camera to behind the camera is a bold choice. Some people succeed, others just do whatever. But you know what? You gotta try new things. Can't fault him for that. So this was written by Jack Stanley, who did Lou in The Passenger, and he rides, and he rides, and he rides. And Elizabeth Moss, yes, Miss Scientology herself, from The Invisible Man, as well as The Handmaid's Tale, and some other stuff, plays Sam, who not only makes the pants too goddamn long, but her career is getting long in the poot. I think that's how that phrase goes. To the point that she's had psoriasis for a while, she has her body covered up, she has confidence issues, and she's really worried that her star is fading, and she's being judged for not getting into, nips and tucks and that kind of stuff, and trying to look more youthful. Like The Substance. So she's worried that her star will fade unless she undergoes experimental stuff like The Substance. And fortunately, there is a company called Shell. Gee, that's on the goddamn nose. A Shell corporation that has shady stuff underneath. God, geez, movies, slow down. Let me catch my breath with this. So anyway, Kate Hudson plays Zoe, who actually is remarkably aged for the fact that in this she is 68 years old. Kate Hudson is nowhere near that, by the way. Kate Hudson still looks good. Good on her. And after her turn in the Skeleton Key, I'm kind of surprised she wants to go back to horror. Oh boy. But she offers her a chance. Don't worry, things are going to work out. And at first, things work out great. But then it turns out that the Shell Corporation has some sinister underbelly stuff going on. So, Sam must solve this mystery before making the pants too long makes her history. Shell Tales, woohoo! So, the opening scene was kind of nice. I'll talk about that in the spoilers. And we get the inclusion of Elizabeth Berkley, Kaya Gerber, who is Brittany in Bottoms, which is a terrific movie that you need to check out. Peter McNichols, of all people, is in this. I know, I was surprised too. And the movie has, like, a surface level, commentary about beauty standards and everything and the upkeep that women need to have to stay in Hollywood, which is bullshit. I mean, everybody ages. Some age more gracefully, some is genetic, some botched surgery. It's just a variety of things. That doesn't make them any less valuable as far as people, as far as in acting roles and stuff like that. Shelley Duvall got absolutely destroyed for the changes that happened to her. May she rest in peace. But the problem is, with this movie in particular, is while the opening scene is not that bad, and there are a few brief moments where it starts to come to life, the third act is both completely telegraphed and also so tonally inconsistent from the rest of the goddamn movie that you have to wonder what the fuck they were thinking with this. This is just more streaming slop. This is better than Vicious, which isn't saying much because I really didn't like Vicious at all, but I liked it better when The Substance did it. It's a little bit better than Skincare as far as the skin, the technology or, the skin care industry and stuff like that, but that was a different type of horror. That was more psychological horror. I drove, by the way, 40 miles to go watch that in North Seattle for a special screening and hated it. That had another Elizabeth in it, Elizabeth Banks. This has, yes, two. So they wanted to go with two Elizabeths. Unfortunately, this movie just doesn't work. So it is on Paramount Plus if you want to check it out. Let's get into spoilers. Some heavy, some me just being mean, because that's how I am. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, yeah. Basically, Elizabeth Berkley is in the opening scene. She can't get it off. She doesn't want to call the police. She doesn't want to stand close to the police either. And ladies, never shave your legs with stuff that is going to cause hideous growths in your goddamn legs. It's weird shit going on here. So, okay, bam, we open with that scene. That's kind of interesting. What the hell's causing that problem? What's causing all this? So Elizabeth Berkley basically ends up getting killed. See, Elizabeth, this is what happens when you do stuff like Showgirls. That being said, essentially, we then basically cut to Sam and her running into an old girl that she used to babysit, played by Kaya Gerber. Character's Chloe. And essentially, Chloe basically is like, oh, well, I'm going to audition. Break a leg, you too. It's funny. They said the same thing to Kerry Von Erich when he rode out on his motorcycle. So, there is a beautiful gray kitty. That is always nice. The cat's fine, by the way, just in case you're wondering. And she does acting auditions. Sam, that is not the cat, as hilarious as that would have been. And her outbreak of psoriasis is starting to get to her, naturally, because the thing about skin stuff is, I've never had eczema, psoriasis, none of that stuff. I've never had any of that stuff. But I can imagine it would get very frustrating. Having a rash in general would be very jarring. You're worried about, people looking at you. And she's kind of kicked around quite a bit. She's made where it's like, oh, well, you should get nips and you should, enhance your beauty. I mean, however you feel about Elizabeth Moss, I know she's just playing a character. However you feel about her is, as far as physical, is your business. She ain't for me. And also the whole Scientology thing's ridiculous. But she sees an ad for the Shell Company Corporation skincare thing where Zoe, played by Kate Hudson, says she's 68 years old. And they do enough to make it look like where she's beautiful, but she's approaching 70 and stuff like that. So you see a few things if you look close, but if you look from afar, she doesn't look that bad. And then Dr. Thaddeus Brand, but Dr. Thaddeus is just funnier, played by Peter McNichols, who, not summoning Vigo in this, unfortunately. He mentions how they use enzymes from various creatures like jellyfish and crustaceans. Remember that other one. And, well, it doesn't, the experiments don't go, completely off without a hitch. But it's safer than ever. Don't worry, Dr. Hubert is just what I'm going to call him. I think it's Hubert, but Hubert's just funnier. Chloe is getting the skin technique stuff, despite the fact, by the way, Kaya Gerber, I think, is 23, 24 as of now. She was born in 2001. God, I was 20 in 2001. Good Lord. But she says, you used to tell me something, when you would babysit me, maybe you aren't as scared as you think you are. There's a show called Hannah Got Heart that apparently, or Hannah Got Heart or Hannah Got a Heart. I don't remember, and I don't necessarily give a shit. But that is something that Elizabeth Moss' character was in. And the treatment goes out without a hitch. And her friend, played by Esther Haim, who I believe has a sister that was in one battle after another, if I recall correctly, Lydia, essentially is her friend and becomes her assistant, and things are going great. The roles are pouring out. She's got television roles, Sam does and stuff like that, and everything is it's all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows everywhere. But unfortunately, there are some problems, as you would expect. So, she goes to a party for Zoe, and they're eating something. They're eating a delicacy. It's her old skin. They're eating her old skin. Then they're going to eat mine. Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't want to even put the effort in for the Troll 2 reference. Very 80s synth score. By the way, the skin eating is totally forgotten about after this scene. So then Zoe basically sees her as she's pumping her up and everything, and sees her as beautiful, and tells Elizabeth Moss, literally, use my vibrator and I'll know if you don't. I'm not kidding, by the way. That is actually a scene that happens. I want you to see you the way I see you. It's like when John Cena woke up in the hospital and they said, I see you, no you don't. So, we get a montage of Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves, a band that probably could not play anytime in New Orleans, but then a montage of her successes and that kind of stuff. And the vet tech that took care of her cat that understood the Salem reference from Sabrina the Teenage Witch is nailing Elizabeth Moss during one of his shifts. He said back in 10 minutes. I remember being able to last 10 minutes, but I digress. And Zoe says she has a few kids, but her husband Ronnie doesn't. They don't live together, but they sleep together. Whatever, it's fine. A lot of this stuff just ends up going all over the place. And then she references that her last name is not Shannon, it is Zilt, which is Norwegian for venison. You know, young meat. By the way, then suddenly two cops show up and they basically say, hey, Chloe went missing. Just suddenly. This is after she talked to her at the clinic place. The comedy just doesn't hit at all. She starts getting moles and she gets one removed from her neck and she splotches and these weird things and they're getting studied. But Dr. Hubert ends up removing the stuff and testing it and everything. But he ends up actually getting released from the Shell Corporation thing. By the way, they show clips of the end of Teenagers from Outer Space, or near the end, with the giant lobster. Can you guess where this is going? You know, they use the crustacean stuff. And then Chloe shows her and basically says they're always watching Sam because, again, the pants being made too long. And she then ends up freaking out because she's getting more freaked out. She's also changing. She's acting weird. She ends up puking up black stuff on set on her co-star and then on a guy from Vanity Fair. And Zoe shows up and wants to take care of her. Her assistant, Lydia, who I don't know if she has the acting range of her sister. I assume her sister, but she's not bad. She is trying to help her, but Zoe whisks her away and says, oh, don't worry about Chloe. She went to Paris, I think. I heard she did, but we're not going to call her. There's no reason to worry about that. Just drink this tea and accept my words as, reality and everything. So, you know what they'll try to do, if they find out about if they find out about what's going on with my company, and you want to know what they call a woman that keeps trying to improve her looks, a punchline, because it's never enough. Sure, The Substance did it better, by the way. Now, maybe this movie was filmed before The Substance, and it just didn't get released until, it found a distributor. I don't know. I'm not saying The Substance is a ripoff. I'll say this is a ripoff until I'm proven otherwise. But there we are. Lydia then suddenly shows up and gets Sam from Zoe's home. There's a weird guy that kind of looks like one of the Matrix dreadlock twins from the Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions. Had to remember the one with Daniel Bernhardt, the guy from Future War that was in that was also in Nobody 2, Electric Boogaloo. So there's also this guy, Yukon Glasses Cornelius, who essentially kind of really looks like that guy and is one of those twins and is her assistant. And the movie cannot pick a tone, by the way. And Sam goes to meet with the cops. It turns out the cops are in on it. She gets this thing called Taxi to Me that's a self-driving taxi deal. It must be like a new Amazon thing, like the Amazon automated stuff. But anyway, it's automated driving. What dystopian future is this in? The cops are suddenly driving in like a 70s big old car. They get hit by a goddamn dump truck. And then she goes to Hubert's house because these spots are getting worse. They're all over her legs. They're all over whatever. And what he says is, okay, take these painkillers. You put on this freaking radioactive mask, and I'm going to basically put you in this tub full of chemicals that melt the stuff off. And it melts it off, and he's holding her in me, but breathe, it's okay. And they melt off and everything, so it's fine. So everything's fine. She gets breakfast in bed. That is not a euphemism. She actually does. And then she finds Chloe's medicine in the goddamn, medicine bottles in the drawer. What the hell's going on here? Well, it turns out that He fell for Chloe, but she can't see Chloe because Chloe ain't Chloe anymore. So they end up killing Dr. Hubert, and seemingly, and then they end up taking Sam, and then this lawyer shows up. By the way, we are, I think, 20 minutes until the end of the movie, and we're here. But we have Sam there with a lawyer and Dr. Peter McNichols, who's Dr. Thaddeus, and then Zoe shows up and basically gives a bit of a speech. And I said, pick a fucking Lane movie, because at Dr. Hubert's house, Chloe was locked behind a door where she had some weird mutation thing. Remember the Teenagers from Outer Space thing? Remember the crustacean DNA? Yeah, she's a human lobster. So this movie basically decided to be a mixture of Tusk and Substance without understanding anything that made either movie work. And I don't even think Tusk was necessarily that great, but it had a neat little idea. But yeah, now all of a sudden, Chloe ends up breaking out and kills the lawyer and just is killing everybody, the few bodies that are there. And yeah, the movie goes, God, take the fucking throne. He doesn't know what he wants to be. So they have to outsmart the human lobster. That's pretty much full lobster. Zoe ends up giving a speech and whatever, and then she ends up locked in a fucking tube where she basically gets melted, essentially, with these chemicals. And there you go. And yeah, the lobster, whatever. It is what it is. Fine, whatever. Doesn't really matter what the fuck happens. I just want to assume that the lobster would have gone and had a nice life living under the sea and maybe killing everybody that made the Little Mermaid live-action remake. So suddenly it turns out that, well, she was able to find fame. Sam, that is. She has a new book called Skin Deep, and Shell is still going on, and this movie just couldn't figure out what the fuck it wanted to be. It's streaming slop that just wasn't very good. So, yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it. F. Shell gets an F. It's a shame because there were parts of it that worked, but the similarities to the Substance aside, this movie couldn't pick a tone. It wasn't a funny comedy. We go from commentary about women's beauty to, and it was telegraphed with the goddamn crustacean DNA thing and the on-the-nose stuff with the Teenagers from Outer Space clip, which, by the way, is still one of the funniest MST3K episodes, at least of the Joel era. And that being said, it just was not good. It was not good at all. We decided to go full monster movie at the end, which didn't feel earned and wasn't very good. And I didn't care really about any of the characters. So yeah, that's it. F. Agree, disagree, what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Redlin. Until we see something better than the Substance again, which there never will be, happy trails to you.